Have you ever wondered how a tiny strip of land in Central America became one of the most important places on Earth? What if I told you that before the Panama Canal existed, ships traveling from New York to San Francisco had to sail nearly 13,000 extra kilometers around the dangerous tip of South America? Why did thousands of people risk their lives to build a waterway through dense jungle, deadly swamps, and unforgiving mountains? And how did a project once considered impossible become one of humanity's greatest engineering achievements? Today, we're uncovering the untold story of the Panama Canal, a story of ambition, disease, politics, tragedy, and ultimate triumph that reshaped global trade forever. Long before giant cargo ships crossed Panama, the narrow land bridge connecting North and South America fascinated explorers. In 1513, Spanish explorer Vasco Núñez de Balboa became the first European to see the Pacific Ocean from the New World. Almost immediately, Spanish rulers realized that if a passage could somehow connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, it would revolutionize trade. But in the 16th century, such a project was far beyond human capability. For centuries, the dream remained just that, a dream.
Fast forward to the 19th century. Global trade was booming, and industrial powers desperately needed faster shipping routes. At the time, ships traveling between the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans had only one option: navigating the treacherous waters around Cape Horn. Storms, massive waves, and unpredictable weather made the journey extremely dangerous. Every year, ships were lost and sailors died. The world needed a shortcut, and attention once again turned toward Panama. The first serious attempt came from France. The man leading the project was Ferdinand de Lesseps, celebrated worldwide for successfully building the Suez Canal. Convinced that Panama would be another easy victory, he launched construction in 1881. But Panama was nothing like Egypt. Instead of dry desert, workers faced dense rainforests, relentless rainfall, steep mountains, mudslides, and rivers that flooded without warning. Equipment sank into the mud. Excavations collapsed repeatedly. Progress was painfully slow. Yet the greatest threat was invisible.
Mosquitoes carried deadly diseases such as yellow fever and malaria, although scientists had not yet fully understood how these illnesses spread. Workers arrived healthy and often died within weeks. Hospitals overflowed. Entire work crews disappeared. Fear spread across construction camps. By some estimates, more than 20,000 workers lost their lives during the French effort. Investors lost confidence, money disappeared, and one of the most ambitious engineering projects in history collapsed into bankruptcy. Around the world, many believed the Panama Canal was simply impossible. But the story was far from over. At the beginning of the 20th century, the United States recognized the strategic importance of a canal connecting the world's two largest oceans. Such a route would benefit both commerce and military operations. However, there was a problem. Panama was still part of Colombia. After negotiations failed, a political crisis unfolded. In 1903, Panama declared independence from Colombia with support from the United States. Soon afterward, the newly independent nation granted rights for canal construction. The stage was set for another attempt at achieving the impossible.
This time, the Americans approached the challenge differently. One of the first heroes of the project was physician William C. Gorgas. Based on new scientific discoveries, he launched an aggressive campaign against mosquitoes. Swamps were drained, standing water was eliminated, buildings were screened, and entire regions were sanitized. For the first time, yellow fever was effectively controlled, and malaria cases dropped dramatically. It was a medical breakthrough that saved thousands of lives and transformed the canal project from a death sentence into a realistic possibility. With disease under control, engineers turned their attention to Panama's rugged landscape. One of the greatest obstacles was the massive Culebra Cut, a deep trench carved through solid rock and mountains. Workers used steam shovels, explosives, and railways to remove millions of tons of earth. Landslides constantly threatened progress. Entire sections of excavation could collapse overnight, erasing months of work. Yet the workers persisted. Day after day, year after year, they reshaped the geography of a continent. It became one of the largest earth-moving operations ever attempted by humanity. They realized that a sea-level canal like the Suez Canal would not work in Panama. The terrain was simply too difficult. Instead, they developed an ingenious lock system. Giant chambers would raise ships approximately 26 meters above sea level to an artificial lake before lowering them back down on the other side. The heart of this system became Gatun Lake, one of the largest man-made lakes in the world at the time. The solution was elegant, revolutionary, and incredibly effective. Finally, after more than 3 decades of dreams, failures, and sacrifices, the canal was completed. On August 15, 1914, the cargo ship SS Ancon made the first official transit through the Panama Canal. The impossible had become reality. A voyage that once took weeks or even months could now be completed in a fraction of the time. Global shipping routes changed overnight. The Panama Canal instantly became one of the most important trade corridors on Earth. Yet another chapter remained unwritten. Although located in Panama, the canal was controlled by the United States for much of the 20th century. Many Panamanians believed their nation's most valuable asset should belong to them. Tensions grew over the decades, eventually leading to negotiations between Jimmy Carter and Omar Torrijos. Agreements were signed that gradually transferred control of the canal to Panama. On December 31, 1999, full control officially passed to the Panamanian government, marking a historic moment of national sovereignty. Today, the Panama Canal remains one of the world's greatest engineering marvels. Each year, thousands of vessels carrying food, fuel, electronics, vehicles, and countless other products pass through its locks. In 2016, an enormous expansion project opened larger channels and locks, allowing a new generation of megaships to transit the canal. Despite advances in technology, satellites, and global logistics, the canal remains as vital today as it was over a century ago. But perhaps the most remarkable part of this story isn't the canal itself. It's what the canal represents. It is proof that some of humanity's greatest achievements emerge from repeated failure. Thousands lost their lives. Nations competed for influence. Engineers battled nature itself. Disease, politics, geography, and doubt stood in the way. Yet, through innovation, persistence, and vision, people accomplished something the world once considered impossible. So, the next time you see a giant cargo ship crossing between 2 oceans in just a matter of hours, remember this question. Was the Panama Canal merely a shortcut, or was it humanity's declaration that even the most impossible obstacles can be overcome? The answer may be the real untold story of the Panama Canal. A story not just about connecting oceans, but about connecting human determination with human ingenuity, forever changing the course of history. If you enjoyed this story and want to discover more hidden engineering wonders, forgotten histories, and mysteries that shaped our world, subscribe to the Mystery Expedition and join us on the next adventure.